Good morning, everybody. And good morning to everybody else. Let's try that one more time. Good morning, everybody. This is one of my favorite things to admire, the beauty of roses. What's amazing is that we often get the roses and we cut the stems in order to make them fit into a vase. And so it reminds me of just a morning routine that I do kind of inside of myself, or you know how we do it in the shower or something like that. So I sing this song, it goes, if I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show my brother he is traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. I just took a page out of Cat Taylor's book. Tell her I sang a song. So what you'll notice is in our time together, I'll spend a little more time on certain parts and I'll blow through other parts. But I need to charge myself oftentimes before I go into the workplace. And so when I get up in the morning, sometimes I feel like this. Right? Because we get up with our true feelings before we get to work. This is how I'm feeling sometimes when I get up. But by the time I get to work, I feel like this. Right? I'll let you all just kind of, focus on that for a second. So just in a couple minutes, we're going to deal with a few pieces in the time that we have. Inclusive leaders, calling it what it is, employees that feel good, and then hopefully we'll get a chance to go over some tools and tips that'll help us in our own workplaces. So our roles in an inclusive workplace. Leaders and employees are asked to bring their whole selves to the workplace. The question is, why? Why are leaders and employees asked to bring their entire selves to the workplace? Well, the data shows that it's actually good for business. It makes companies more efficient, more profitable, more productive. So the simple answer to that is, it's good for business. So then we have behaviors of inclusive leaders, and we'll kind of blow through some of these. Curious, are you open to learning and unlearning? Woke, real, consistent, or operating in consistency. Inclusive leaders, they're open to raw feedback, always evolving, recognizing negative behaviors in other employees. Let me stop with the open to raw feedback. Give you an example. So I serial entrepreneur. I started my first business and committed my first crime at the age of 9. The business was a lemonade stand, but I stole the lemons. And so throughout, the next couple years, I've pretty much been a serial entrepreneur. I worked in corporate America for a couple years, and then I transitioned to the nonprofit world. I worked as an ED of a homeless shelter, feeding kitchen, men's drug and alcohol recovery center. And then I come to this other place. And I went through this whole procedure that wasn't authentic. It wasn't true to who I am, nor was it compassionate in putting myself in the shoes of the other person. And when I tell you, she tore me every which way. And what she did was she gave me raw and unfiltered feedback that I asked her for. And what it did was it helped me to step back and look at myself and ask myself the question, am I an inclusive leader or am I just a leader? And there's a grave difference. So inclusive leaders, what you bring is what you give. Do the work and set the stage. And then there's this introspection and reflection. So Michael Jackson sings this song, I'm looking at the man in the mirror, right? If we don't do the work as leaders on the inside, then we won't be effective in helping anyone, including ourselves. So there's this passage in a book that I love to read, and it talks about don't look or point out the splinter in your brother's eye without looking at the beam that's coming out of your own. And the reality is, when we're not operating in an authentic space with our employees and amongst other leaders, they see it. And so I'm going to give you this story. That's Fred. Everybody say hi to Fred. Dog named Fred. Fred was good at biting people. Everywhere Fred went, Fred would bite people. Rah, rah. He went to the store, rah, he would bite somebody. He, went to Whole Foods. We like to bring our dogs to Whole Foods now. He was there, rah, rah. Everywhere Fred went, he would bite people. He was biting people. And so finally, his owner took him inside of his own front yard, and the package delivery driver came. And the driver went inside of the fence. Fred bit the driver. And then all of a sudden, Fred's owner and Fred had to go to court. And so what the owner did was he put a muzzle on Fred because he wanted Fred to appear as if, things were okay and he wouldn't bite anyone anymore. And so the judge fined the owner and gave all of these stipulations on what he needed to do with Fred. But inside of the courtroom, Fred was still, he was still snapping at people. He was still growling at people because there was behavioral modification, but not inner transformation. On the outside, Fred appeared to be okay because he couldn't bite anymore with the muzzle, but on the inside, he was still messed up, he was still mean, he was still angry, and he still wanted to bite people. As inclusive leaders, we have to make sure that we do the work so that we're coming from an authentic place, so that we're stepping into our workspaces and into our workplaces ready to actually do the work, but first ready to love on our people. And the paradigm has shifted now because we used to love people and use things, but now we use things, or the reverse. We used to use things and love people, but now we use people and love things because we're so focused on profit, we're so focused on revenue, we're so focused on productivity and innovation and ingenuity and efficiency that we forget that the person right in front of us is actually a human being and not a robot. So, I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about my road of inclusive leadership. And obviously, I don't have an executive assistant or an admin because that "my" is like way over there. It's like a dyslexic slide. Don't judge me. It starts with my grandmother. My grandmother, Willie Mae Barrett, she was what you call a domestic engineer. She was a housekeeper for a wealthy family in the Lafayette area, and if I said their last name, everybody would know who it was. But for more than half of her life, she cleaned plates, she washed dishes, she hosted dinner parties, she raised their children and their grandchildren. She cooked, she cleaned, she traveled in the rain to serve other people. And so a part of my inclusive leadership journey and having a love for serving people came from my grandmother. And then there's that lady right there. That's my mother. My desire to serve, my heart and passion for people, my transparency, my authenticity comes from that lady right there. She would take me when I was a young child, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, to the homeless encampments, to the parks, to the street corners, and she would have, and my mother didn't have money, but she would make this pot of beans. Now, most of y'all don't really know what I'm about to say. She would make this pot of beans and put meat in it, and then she would make this pan of cornbread and make some slaw, and she taught me the importance of serving people. Not about a profit, not about being rich, not about fancy clothes and cars and shoes and building great empires, but simply serving people. And that translates into my inclusive leadership, my passion, my love to see people as who they are, to invite them into an open space so that we can collaborate together, not this hierarchical system that I'm the boss. And I used to walk around, with that whole I'm the boss syndrome. You know how we do it sometimes. Oh yeah, this is my staff. These are my employees, right? But at the end of the day, these are people, right? And we all have a responsibility to lead on different levels. And so I learned inclusive leadership, parts of it, from my mother. But then when we dive into the workplace culture, we gotta tell it just like it is, and we gotta call this stuff out. Just a couple weeks ago, the Dismantle Collective, Impact Hub, and a host of other sponsors hosted the Dismantling White Supremacy Unconference at Impact Hub, Oakland. Because at a certain point, right, you got to call this stuff out. And all of the slides that I previously showed about inclusive leaders and behaviors of inclusive leaders and all of that sort of thing, Mike, all of that is cool and it's really, nice to talk about. But the reality is, it sounds cool, but we have to understand that we're in a fight. Every day when we go to work, right, many of us, we're in a fight against white supremacy. We're in a fight against capitalism. We're in a fight against socialism, sexism, racism, and all of the other isms that we talk about amongst our friends. We experience that in the workplace every single day. And as leaders, we have to have the courage to call that stuff out, especially those who are in executive leadership. To not be content with your position or your title or your team or your productivity or your efficiency or where you rank, in best great places to work and all of that stuff. When at the end of the day, many of our employees, right, many of the people that come to work and serve our organizations, they only bring half of themselves because they don't trust us with the other half. The truth is, right, in order to bring your WHOLE to work, you have to also bring the HOLE to work. You got to bring the parts that some people don't know. Now, does that mean tell folks all of your business? No. Because everybody can't handle your business. The fact about it is, I can't handle my own business sometimes. Right? But oftentimes, we have to bring enough to be able to engage with the people that we work with. But the truth is, we don't trust them. We don't. We don't trust them with the deepest parts of us. Right? Our kids' names. Matter of fact, distrust in the workplace is so severe in many organizations and companies. Executive leadership sets a platform of deceit and lies. See, come close. Hey, Sharon. Hold on, Sharon. Husha! Sharon, I can't come into work today. I'm sick. When the truth is, your daughter is sick. But you have to take a sick day because trust hasn't been built with your employer or with your boss that you can't even tell the truth, that you're actually caring for a sick child or a relative or a loved one, because many of our spaces are built and constructed to serve the organization and not to serve the people that serve the organization. And so what do? Right? And I know I'm not sitting here with a bunch of folks from Oracle and all of these other fancy Facebook, Uber type companies. These are B Corp companies, right? So we're supposed to have the courage, we're supposed to have the bravery, we're supposed to have, the stick-to-itiveness to step into abnormal work environments and shift them for good. That's what we're supposed to do. But many of us are afraid to do it. All right. So the HOLE in our workplaces impact the WHOLE. How many of you sing this song before you go to work? Take this job and thank God it's, I'm mad as hell and I can't. Now, your bosses might be in here, so keep it down, keep it down. So, whole self cultures, cultural safety, psychological safety, inclusive leaders, rituals of belonging. The real enemy. I'm sorry, I could only find a white guy on Pinterest, my bad. My fault. I didn't. My bad. Um, the real enemy for a just, safe, brave workplace: capitalism, sexism, disposability culture, racism, white supremacy. Have any of you ever experienced a boss or an executive leader that leads with everybody's replaceable, right? This disposable culture. It's not healthy. So, in unhealthy work environments, it's all about that, right? For those of you who may not know, that's Rihanna. She sings this song, work, 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 right? Okay. Many of you are like, I still don't get it. And so we have these spaces that are all about the bottom line. It's all about the P&L, and it's not about the people. And if we treat people right, people will serve our organizations well. It's not about profit, it's about humanity. Like, folks are human beings that come to work, and we treat them as if sometimes they're like cattle or numbers, or the person on the other side of the counter at the DMV. Maybe that's just the Oakland DMV. So, employees feel good when they are treated fairly. Now I want us to do this all together. You guys, let's say it. Employees feel good when they are treated fairly. Is that true? Yeah? Okay. Employees feel good when they Is that pretty accurate? Yeah? Okay. Employees feel good when employees feel good when Now somebody just shout out what does it feel like to belong in your workspace? What does that feel like? Safe. Seen. Happy. Calm. Appreciated. Heard. Yes. Empowered. Yes. Calm. Connected. Respected. Somebody said respected. Yeah. What else? Ooh. You can just show up as you. What does that feel like? How much time we spend at work and we can't show up as ourselves? What does it feel like to show up to work and just be me? With my urban vernacular. Just be me. With my locks. Just be me. With my head wrap because of my beliefs. I can just be me. Inside of my sexual orientation. I can be me. With my disability. I can be me. With a crazy husband. I can be me with a sick child chronically at home. You mean I don't have to code switch anymore? I don't have to dance one way with you and dance another way with you? I can just show up? Now, you mess with the wrong person, people will provoke you until they bring out your ugly side. Then play victim, what I want to say, when you go bad on them. They will poke and prod and pick until you react, because the expectation is that you're supposed to endure it. So, we have the power to create the workplace that we want. Take action. We are here for each other. We practice gratitude. We build each other up. We stand in discomfort. We stand in solidarity. This is the type of environment that I want to have. These are the type of people that I want to be around. These are the type of soldiers that I want to fight this battle with. Now, that's my daughter, Kendall, on the right. She's 16 now. That's my daughter, Kennedy, on the left. She's 13 now. I don't know what my son is looking at. He'll be 8 in September, and that's me. The Black Panther. Wakanda forever? That's me. That's me. The one that will look silly to make sure that every person that serves our organization feels like it's a great place to work. That's me. The one that will show up to a funeral to support someone who lost a loved one. That's me. Who will give a staff person, who will give someone who serves our organization a paid day to go tend to your sick child. That's me. The one that sees that the person is tanking out halfway through the day, you just send them home to go take a nap. Why? Because that 4 hours that they're going to stay, they're not going to do anything anyway. I'll share something with you. I want you all to do me a favor, understanding that you are not the only one. So I'm going to ask a series of questions. I think I got a couple minutes left. I'm going to ask a series of questions. And if this applies to you, then act accordingly. Stand up if you go to work distracted by personal issues. Thank you. You may be seated. Stand up if you go home distracted by work issues. Now, many of you, if you didn't get your workout in, you're about to get it now. Thank you. You may be seated. Stand up if you are currently a single parent. Thank you. You may be seated. Stand up if you've cried in the past month over work-related issues. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Stand up if you've ever suffered from depression. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Stand up if you felt alone, unwelcomed, or afraid. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Stand up if you've ever been promoted to a position of power someone else deserved. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Stand up if you've caught yourself judging someone before you had a chance to actually meet and know them. Thank you. You may be seated. Stand up if you've had a friend or family member who has been sexually assaulted. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Stand up if you've been followed around a store while shopping. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Stand up if you've ever been pulled over by the police without cause. Thank you for standing. Stand up if someone has ever touched your hair without asking you. You don't have hair. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Stand up if you feel comfortable inviting your partner to work events. Thank you for standing. You may be seated. Stand up if you don't feel comfortable inviting your partner to work events. Thank you for standing. Stand up if you feel or have ever felt threatened because of your race. Thank you for standing. Stand up if you've ever felt threatened because of your gender. Thank you for standing. Stand up if you've ever been threatened because of your sexual orientation. Thank you for standing. Stand up if you've ever been threatened because of your political views. Thank you for standing. We're almost done. I know you guys are like, no more. Stand up if you've ever witnessed any injustice and remained silent. Thank you for standing. Got two more. Stand up if the employees or coworkers in the company that you work for are representative of the community that it resides in. Thank you for standing. Last one. Stand up if you didn't stand up when you should have stood up. So this is why I do it. I do it for the next generation. I do it to create something that will be better than what it is right now for when these young people walk into it. Gandhi had peace. Muhammad Ali had a punch. Barack Obama had hope. Martin Luther King had a dream. Tiger Woods had clubs. Barry Bonds had a bat. Michael Jordan had a ball. Steph Curry has a three. David Jackson has belief. Because I believe that one day we'll have a workplace where diversity, inclusion, equity, equality are not a part of the normal vernacular of the workspace, but it will be a part of the foundation and fabric of the organizations and companies that we lead and serve in. I believe that one day women will not have to fight to get to the top, but men will recognize their value and start from the top. I believe that one day we will have this inclusive workspace where all people, no matter what your gender, no matter what your sexual orientation, your political views, your religious beliefs, the color of your skin, the curl of your hair, no hair, it doesn't matter, that you will be valued, that you will feel respected, that you will feel loved, and most of all, that you will feel happy to serve at the place where you serve. That's what I believe. And that's my mother right there.